Almost every family gets this wrong about long-term care insurance. Hello and welcome to the In-Home Senior Care channel. My name is Vitaly. I'm so glad you're here. So since 2003, our team has been helping families set up and provide personalized one-on-one care in the comfort of their own homes. It is a passion of ours. We just love helping families to do that. And in that process, long-term care insurance is lots of times involved, or it's a part of those care scenarios. And so we have become experts in helping families to untangle and to really kind of figure out the complexities of the policy. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 concrete logical reasons why you should put care in place and trigger the policy as soon as possible. And in fact, if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll give you a 4th reason, a bonus if you will, for why or on how doing so will actually save you money. So first, let me explain what it means to trigger the policy. So it basically means that you're going to start the claim. And of course, partially the policy will dictate what the triggers are or how you're going to trigger the policy. So number one, I'm not talking about somehow, frivolously claiming that you have a need when you don't have one. You will not be able to do so because we will have to have a nursing assessment done from our team, and then most likely the long-term care policy will send out an independent nurse to do a second assessment to verify that the needs for the care are there. So that is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about if you have the needs, the physical assistance is needed. And typically those triggers are 2 activities of daily living. And I have another video on kind of the overall how policies work that I will link in the description, just so if you need a little bit more elementary education about long-term care policies, you can do that. So the trigger would be if there's 2 activities of daily living that are needed, that the person needs assistance with, and then you can file the claim and start the policy. So why is it smart to get care in place and trigger the long-term insurance policy, long-term care insurance policy? So number one, you paid for it, right? So it is a bucket of money, if you will, that you paid for to be able to use. So you should use it first, okay? So essentially with this process, how long-term care insurance works is you have a daily limit, whatever that may be, and then you have an overall limit. And I like to call that kind of the bucket of money. So that is a chunk of money that you have, once you use it up, it's gone, right? So the daily limits won't matter. But that amount of money is the amount of money that you paid for with your policy to have access to. So my argument is don't treat it as a last resort. Think about it, and I'll give you more reasons here, but use it first. Because number one, many policies go unused or underused. I was just talking to a good friend of mine who actually sells insurance, and he was telling me how his mom had a policy and she ended up passing away, never even claiming on the policy, right? And we see a lot of that. We see a lot of it where people, when they come to us for care and they have a policy, they are well into the window of care and they could have triggered it a couple of years ago. And so the risk that you have is all those premiums that you paid and all the money that bucket of money that you paid for is going to go unused, and you're going to have wasted some of your money having paid for that. So if you think about all the money you've spent on those premiums, it would be shame to lose that because it's not something that was going to get refunded back to your family or passed down. It'll just disappear when the person dies, right? So number 2, waiting means crisis mode, right? So falls, hospital discharges, caregiver burnout, when you think about it, some of our care starts with clients who start on services with very minimal services, not because they are in crisis and need care tomorrow. They're the ones that are thinking, and they know that it's prudent for them to get care in place, so hopefully they can maybe avoid a crisis situation, or at least be ready when one comes so they already have some care in place. So crisis mode means that you have a need for heavy care and higher hours, so obviously higher cost as with that as well. And then you have the emotional stress on the family who in a moment's notice, because of a fall, a fracture, is having to kind of all come together really quick to pull care and trying to make quick decisions, which obviously making decisions really fast is not the wisest thing, and it can sometimes lead to struggles and making decisions that might not be the best thing. So early care sets up a foundation that enables a good care to come into place and hopefully prevents a crisis situation, and there's no guarantee of that, but having a care plan in place when a crisis occurs, you're already ahead of the curve, because that care team and that care plan can be adjusted much easier because we already have information, things are in, you already know caregivers, you already know the process. All those things can easily increase care versus starting brand new care and then having to find a reputable provider, all those kinds of things that you're trying to make the decision on the fly. So just that's important. So waiting means that you're going to be operating out of crisis mode. Number 3, premiums will likely continue increasing, right? That's just the nature of the beast. Premiums will continue to increase. And so you're already paying a hefty yearly premium. And even though you will have to satisfy an elimination period, which I think for a lot of people ends up being maybe the obstacle to saying, okay, we should start this, because they look at it and they go, I'm going to have to spend out of pocket to, eliminate the elimination period. And just for if you're not aware, so the elimination period is sort of like a deductible on a car insurance, if you think about it. So it's usually 30, 60, 90 days. Most policies are 90 days as a given, because that's how you were able to reduce your premiums, by having a longer elimination period. Similar to if you pay $1,000 deductible versus a $500 deductible on your car, you get a decrease in premium. So a lot of people get hung up on that, and so they're like, well, I don't want to trigger it. I don't want to spend this money right now out of pocket, and so they just kind of let it continue. Remember this, you are going to stop paying premiums once you file a claim. So once you file a claim and an elimination period starts, your premiums stop. So whatever your yearly amount that you pay in premiums, that amount of money, like think about that equation. So whatever you're going to have to outlay for that, and by the way, it's 90 days care days, not calendar days. In other words, it's not just literal 3 months. It is, so if you have services, if you have services 7 days a week, that will end up being literal like 3 months. But if you have services, say 3 times a week, that will be more than a year that it'll take you to burn through that elimination, because those are care days. So it's important to understand that. But once you trigger it, your premiums will stop. So how much is that premium? You're going to have to spend some money on care to get to the actual daily limits that they'll reimburse to you. So my argument here is stop giving your money to your insurance company. You've given them enough in all the years you've had the policy, and then start thinking about your own needs. Okay? All right, so if you're still watching, hopefully you are, here's reason number 4 and the bonus that I was talking about. So there's a higher cost to using your own money when you have this money available. Here's what I mean. The bucket of money that you've paid for through the insurance isn't going to increase. There might be a small incremental increase because of maybe an inflation rider. The inflation rider might affect the daily, might not affect the bucket. Your policy will be very specific, and it will dictate that, and we can help you decipher that if you connect with us. But so it's not smart to use your own cash and leave the policy for later. So I'm going to give you an example, and I'm just telling you this here. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not giving you financial advice, but I want to give you a realistic scenario that you can run through your own calculation and just realize what this is. So if you took, let's say you had a $200,000 policy, that's the bucket, right? And then if you were either going to try to spend that or you're going to leave that alone and you have, let's say, $200,000 in cash. And that $200,000 in cash, you're like, well, I'm just going to do this because I'll get to this later. So think about if you just took that $200,000 in cash. So by the way, this bucket at a care level of about 3 days a week, that will probably be spent in about 7.5 years, given rates and just depending on some of those specifics. So let's think about a 7.5 year period. So take that $200,000 in cash that you have, and imagine you invested that in a safe S&P index fund of some sort, and let's say very conservatively you could return maybe 7% a year. You would end up with roughly $325,000 of that money. That money would have grown to that amount while you're using up this bucket of insurance money. Okay. Now the average return for this type of fund is actually between 12 and 13%, so really double that. But I'm just saying, if you took just the absolute kind of most conservative view of what that amount could be. Okay, and I'm going to put a graph up here a little bit. So the average has been like 12 to 13. In the last 10 years, it's maybe 10 to 11, like historically since the 50s. So what I'm saying it's costing you more because that money could actually be working for you in the market and returning something while you're using up the insurance product. Because the other thing to really keep in mind is the fact that this bucket, like if you really think and process, it's actually becoming less, because what you really have to look at is this bucket. Let's say it's 200,000, and then you go back how many years you've paid your premiums, and each year that premium is essentially money that you've given to them, that even though you have this bucket, but money's come out of your own, cash. So each year you pay, in essence, you're reducing what this is really worth because you're giving them more money. So again, the logic is there. I'm just asking you to really just apply and process that and get the idea of what that is. So thank you for staying with us here. Of course, your long-term care insurance will discourage you from filing a claim and trying to prolong that, and that's the idea, right? There's a reason why like term life insurance is as cheap as it is, because it's almost pure profit, right? They understand that those 30-year policies that they sell to 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds, most of them obviously will never be claimed on. Long-term care insurance isn't quite like that, right? But the longer you wait to trigger it, the more likely that you won't use the full benefit, or you may not use any of it. So, in fact, the reason I say they discourage you is because even the elimination period itself is a tool to kind of discourage you, because you're going to have to pay out of pocket for that 90-day period. And so for a lot of people, they're like, I don't want to do that now. I don't want to spend that. But remember, you are paying a premium to them every year that you've just gotten used to paying, and it's coming out of your savings or your income. And so you are, as you think about the equation of how much you're going to spend on care, you're not going to spend on that premium that year. Okay. So to me, and again, I've been doing this a long time, it makes absolutely no sense for you to spend your own money while this kind of sits here and has a potential of disappearing or not being used up when you've paid for it, and let your money do its work, and then that amount, use it up as soon as you can. Again, I'm not giving you financial advice. It is not my purview, but I think it's a smart way to look at it. So we are here to help. Please call us. We're we're in Burnsville, Minnesota, so kind of south Twin Cities, and we offer a free, no obligation care consultation. We'll meet with you. No sales, no, we don't push. We will help you figure out your policy. We will help you understand how it works and what what it looks like, how long it's going to take you to get to where the policy will start reimbursing you. If you want to learn more about long-term care insurance, just kind of in general, we have another video that I will link in the description, as well as in the video here, that you can watch and just learn, again, a little bit more basic. But this video is really intended for helping encourage you to rethink how you are thinking about that policy, because each year you keep paying the premium, you're giving them more money, and you really should start using it provided you have actual care needs. So if this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.